Good morning. Welcome to just another episode of Just My Thoughts. I woke up this morning, just decided I wanted to do another episode. I guess I'm enjoying myself. Well, I usually always enjoy myself, so I don't know. So here we are. Um, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about some random observations I've made as far as thinkers and feelers. Um, I think I'm in a good position in a way to make this to speak on these observations because technically I'm a thinker. I have savior TE savior thinking, savior extroverted thinking. But I'm actually I have masculine FI, masculine introverted feeling. And then on top of that, I'm actually double activated on my feeling. I'm only singly activated on my thinking, right? Which is partly why I've been having these thinking tidal waves because I was activating the thinking a lot more after kind of discovering I was savior thinking and really trying to improve it. That's what started all my tidal waves. But anyway, regardless. So I say that to say that I am thinking dominant, but in some ways I appear to be a feeler, um, which is interesting in a certain degree. One, it shows you there are degrees of being a thinker and degrees of being a feeler. Everybody's not the same. That's one thing I've noticed about like really looking at the objective personality code and looking at how it breaks down. You want to be like, hey, people are too complex to really break down into a personality system, which it does appear like that. And yet at the same time, because of the different variations within the system, no, they can actually fit nicely in there. Um, but anybody that knows me would say I am not an overly emotional person. Um, my emotions don't really shift too much one way or the other. And I think that might be because I'm thinking dominant. Um, and also, I'm a little older. Like when I was younger, I had some feeling issues I was working through due to childhood stuff. I do remember um, it was just this one area where if something was mentioned in that area, I could get very upset. I do remember embracing that anger. Like it felt so good to just sort of grab it, hold it. It is very comforting. It's a righteous anger. Like I feel justified in any action I take because what I felt I was going through or was dealing with was so bad that I just felt I had that righteous justification. It almost feels like what I expect, say, a religious zealot would feel like I'm justified in the name of God. You know, it feels like that. I mean, FI is very primal. It's a wellspring of just emotion down there. Um, and usually, anyway. So yes, but otherwise, after I would basically confronted those issues and worked through those issues, um, that doesn't. I don't really have that issue anymore. Took me a long time. I didn't get over it till I was probably upper 30s, so like 32, 33. But after that, you know, yeah. Anyway, so I say that to say that some differences I was noticing between thinkers and feelers. So like I said, I'm a thinker, but I did have that kind of emotional issue going on to my early 30s. Um, After that, there's very little that really makes me angry. There's a coworker that pisses me off, and it's a guy that I just basically been working with for years. Unfortunately, I got to work with this guy, and I just get tired of his shit. Like, it takes a long time for something to build up and build up and build up before it really becomes an issue for me. Usually it's just a minor annoyance in the moment, but after so long of building up, I just want to destroy you, you know. Um, and I've been working with that guy for, I mean, I've technically known him for like 20 years, almost 20 years. But having to work with him constantly, close hand to hand, last 5, 6 years, and that's when I really start seeing that issue build up, and I really had to kind of try to distance myself from him, like not really speak to him, which I really hate. I feel so immature not speaking to somebody, but I feel it was better because yeah, just take my word, it was better for all parties involved. Oh god, coffee. Anyway, yes. So looking back at how my emotion has expressed itself, it's just been in a matter of self-indulgence, which is kind of a thing with FI. I think it you can become self-indulgent. I heard a guy say that FI kind of makes you kind of, people think you only care about yourself, which is not accurate. But FI does put you at almost like a very singular perspective a lot of the times. Like, you're always like, well, what about the little guy? What about the individual? Where FE usually is looking at the whole. Well, what about the group? What about everyone else? And that is something I've noticed that kind of, how that counterbalances. But looking back throughout my life, I've noticed self-indulgence. I wouldn't say selfishness. I don't think I've ever considered myself to be a selfish person, but self-indulgent in the moment of if I want something or I'm trying to achieve some kind of goal or something, I'm trying to go for it. But I'm never going to try to do it at the expense of someone else, which is something I've seen other people do. Definitely FE does that. I have lines that I'm not willing to cross. That also seems to be something with F with FI. Like we're very stand strong on our morals. Not to say that FE couldn't be stand strong in your morals, but I don't know. It seems to be different with FI. Anyway, I'm getting more off in depth. Where I was originally going with this was thinkers and feelers. So interesting. I've noticed that thinkers are always doing calculations, right? So it's either big calculations or little calculations, but they're always calculating when they're going to take action. Okay. What I mean by this is, again, we'll come back to the chess analogy. If you play chess and you're going to make a move on one of your pieces, you look at the move you're going to make, and then you calculate what can the opponent do once you make that move. Can they take your piece? Can they put you in a bad position? You're running these calculations in your head before you make your move. With thinkers, we are running calculations in our head before we take action. All right. And this again can be done on a major level or minor level. So if it's something really important, really taking the time to think it out before we make that move. And usually it's something minor. Like I remember a time where I was going to the barbershop and I was leaving. My wife was going to take my daughter to a class, and we have a 2-car garage. So I went and pulled my car out. I was going to leave, and as I'm backing up, I glanced at her car, and in my mind automatically made the calculation of, all right, my wife is going to go to the car because the car is close to, like, the passenger side, which is where my daughter's car seat is, in the back passenger side. It's close to the wall, so she would have a hard time trying to get her into that car seat, and she would probably have to back up, and then so she would have to put my daughter into the car, back up, take my daughter out of the car, and then put her into the car seat, right? So as I'm backing up, moving my car, this is the calculations my mind is running. So what I do is I back up, put my car at the front of the driveway, walk back to the garage, get in my wife's car, back her car out of the garage, close to the garage, and then lock her car. So that way, when she goes to leave, she can just put my daughter in the car, no problem, right? So that is what I mean by running calculations. That's not a conscious thing. That's just something my mind does. And I suspect that, all thinkers do this. I've been looking, and that's certainly what it looks like. And I have a savior thinking, but mine is, I'm a jumper, so technically it's in a third slot. I have 2 friends that are savior thinking, and theirs is in the first slot. It's their dominant function, and they look like they do this much faster than I do. So it does the higher the thinking function is up, the faster it works. Also, some people are double activated on thinking. Like, I'm double acted on my feeling, even though I'm a thinker. If you're double activated on your thinking, which I know a couple of people who are, yeah, that shit happens so fast for them. Like, as much as I hate to admit it, they are much faster thinking in the moment than I am. Like they're very running very quick calculations. It's 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 interesting. You you kind of need a good balance because what I've noticed is yes, thinking wise, they're running very quick calculations, and like I said, they're definitely better at me in that area. Um, I mean, there are also um, other things that influence that, say age, experience, stuff like that. But yeah. However, it does appear like if you're, say, double activated. This is going by my friend Reggie's theory. He says whatever you're double activated on, that's what you really appear to be an exaggerated version of that. Reggie's double activated on thinking. Reggie's mind is super sharp. Like just talking to this guy, observing this guy, super sharp. The only downside, and if I'm speaking out of turn, I could be incorrect on this. It appears that the downside of that is because you're double activated on the thinking, you're only single activated on the feeling. It does seem to be hard for them to prioritize things of importance because that's where the feeling comes in. It's like your priorities. So I say that to say like super sharp mind, but at the same time, sometimes they don't know what they want to do in life. Like highly intelligent individuals, and this doesn't have anything to actually do with intelligence, but they don't know what they want to pursue in life. That priority, it's harder for them to deal with. Which I suppose, I mean, it's great for people that own companies because usually they'll just go work for a company and make great money. It's not exactly a bad thing. But for themselves, it can be more difficult. Now, I myself don't have that issue because I have the double activated feeling. I know exactly what I want to do in life. It's sometimes, but it's a trade off, I guess. Because, yeah, I know exactly what I want to do, and this is always grass looking greener. If I could trade the double activated feeling for the double activated thinking, I consider it. I don't know. I wish Reggie was here. I could have a conversation with him about it. Not that I've ever met him in person. We mostly talk on the internet. But anyway, yeah. So that's some of the differences on the thinker end, right? Now, if you go to the feeler's hand, like I said, thinkers are always running calculations. It's been my experience that feelers are not running calculations. They're actually very impulsive. And when I say very impulsive, I know that probably sounds extreme, but from a thinker's point of view, all right, that's the very important key. From the point of view of a thinker, it appears very impulsive. And I say that to say because I'm not moving without a planned destination, without knowing whatever the goal I'm trying to achieve. Where am I trying to go, or what am I trying to do? Even like in relation to like, all right, let's get in the car, let's go. What's the destination? Um, are we going out to eat? Are we going to an uh, art store? Like, what are we doing? Like, I need that I need that target to lock on to, right? And like even my wife kind of would give me shit about when I'm looking for something. It's I need to. She say, all right, well, go in there. It's in the refrigerator. And I'm looking, and it's like my head is scanning. My body's not moving. I just open the refrigerator. My head is scanning, looking for whatever it is, and then once I lock onto it, then my body moves to get it. That seems to be the way my mind works. I've noticed that. With fillers, it's not like that at all. They're just moving. All right, so let me give you an example. You ever seen somebody who gets in the car and then they put the car in drive, but then they start backing up, then they stop, then they have to put on a seatbelt, or like they get in the car and start moving the car while holding cell phones, or texting while driving. Let me think. What else? Like, oh, if you ever watch YouTube videos about car crashes, and you'll see, you'll see, cars will be driving just impulsively, just shift to another lane. These are, in my opinion, these are fillers, right? Because I'd be watching these car crashing videos and I'd be like, I just don't understand how this is happening. And then I realized, like, I think it's a filler thing. And I've observed fillers are just so impulsive. Even when it comes to speaking, right? Like my wife will often start speaking before she knows what she's saying. And I know that sounds weird, but yeah, it's the only way I can explain it. She will often start thinking before she's explaining. Now, that's partly due to two things. One, because she's a feeler, and two, because her intuition is, she has extrovert intuition in the second slot, or at least I think so. It's either first or second. I'm not 100% sure in the order of that, but I think it's first and the second and the feelings first. But she will start speaking, and then I sort of sometimes have to like re-put it together what she said to figure out what she's actually trying to say. This isn't all the time, but it does happen. Or sometimes I'll try to repeat back to her what she said so I can get a better understanding of it. Because like I said, I'm not gonna take action until I know what the goal is. So for me, I find it confusing sometimes. It's like analysis paralysis. You know, I can't make a move because I don't know what the goal is. Good old coffee. So yeah, fillers I've noticed are very impulsive. Even a guy I work with that I've been having issues with, he's fascinating to me in the sense of he has a masculine thinking, which works so very well. Even though it's in the last slot, it works great. He's very good at kind of figuring out things, but the problem is once he figures it out, it has to go for that subjective feeling point of view, and he will add his own reason as to why you're doing what you're doing, and that's usually where he messes up because he can't figure out why you're doing. So he will make all these accusations. Will tell me you're this kind of person, you're that kind of person, and like usually negative, always negative, always negative, and it's something I see, like it's just super impulsive. He will get upset and then the emotion will take him. Like that's where I think the impulsiveness comes from with the feelers. Their emotion is just almost like it's almost powering them. Like I have FI, masculine FI, and I do feel like it powers me. Like it's like my power source, like in the sense of me being strong as a person, me being strong in who I am. Like if you try to say, not physically attack me of course, but if you try to verbally attack me or something like that, like it's what keeps me standing strong. It's what lets me move through life. It's just my power source of whatever I'm doing. It's a constant thing. I think there's something similar going on with the feelers, but it feels like where mine is just a constant power source. It doesn't really change one way or the other. For feelers, it feels like there's a vibe, like a pulse, right? Yes, all right, like a pulse, sort of like a heartbeat, right? Your heart's beating all the time, but when you get excited, instead of just now it's revving up. That appears to be what it is with feelers and emotions. That pulse is always running through them. That's why they appear impulsive. That's why they are impulsive. But once that emotion like kicks into gear, holy shit, dude. There's no fucking telling what the fuck might happen. Like, as a thinker, they look unpredictable. Partly because it is fucking unpredictable. Like, and I think that's the thing, like just from a matter of point of view, it appears so crazy to me. But it's also hard for them to see it, I think, because that's just their normal way of doing things, seeing things, like experiencing things. And again, feelers, like I was saying, that righteous justification, I don't think it's the same kind of righteousness. Well, I don't know. If you have FI, it probably is the same kind of righteousness. But if you have FE, I'd imagine it's a different kind of feeling. But still, some kind of, you feel justified. Yeah, you feel justified in whatever you do. Like I was saying in the video yesterday about, I was talking about intention. And I was telling you how the guy at work was saying intention doesn't matter. I personally think intention is very important. He feels like, no, intention doesn't matter. If you do something, in his own words, if you do something fucked up, then you did it and it's fucked up. That's how I feel about it. That's all that's important. Obviously, I don't agree, but I do feel like that's just justification to embrace that emotion and do whatever you feel like you want to do. Um, and again, that is something I've noticed with fillers. Like they will give themselves a justification. I mean, in a way, I understand. Like as your saviors, you get that dopamine hit from them. Um, so I get it to a certain point, but at the same time, it's gotta occur to you. There's no way it's not occurring to you that hey, sometimes you're overreacting. Um, Sometimes you don't need to take it that far, and sometimes you don't need to. Just because the guy made you mad, you don't need to just go off on the guy. Like, at what point does self-control come into play? At what point do you decide, you know what, maybe I don't need to react in this fashion. Maybe I should try to do some self-control. You know, so that's my issue with it. Like I understand it. I'm empathetic in a certain way, but after a certain age, a certain amount of life experience, come on. Like, yeah, you got to do something about that. Now, and again, I am savior thinking, and I'm double activated on the feeling. What I'm speaking about probably sounds more like somebody who's savior feeling and double activated on the feeling. I'm wondering what that looks like with somebody who's savior feeling and double activated on the thinking, sort of like my opposite. Because clearly all feelers are not acting exactly the same. There are differences. You know, even if you have the same activation, there are going to be differences in how you're raised, differences in your environment, how you're taught to conduct yourself. You know, so there are various differences. So yeah, I don't want to put everybody in that box, but I will say if you come from an environment where socially it is highly acceptable to react in emotional manners, that could definitely work against you, and you can end up in bad places without realizing it, because you have that righteousness, like you feel you have that justification without realizing it until much later when you're permanently fucked, that the error was on your end. I say that to say, if you've ever seen like documentaries about people in jail and stuff, you'll see that a lot. And it's not a black or white thing. It's not a man or woman thing. It's just a human thing. Probably more so a filler thing, but it could happen either way. You will realize like, hey, I made a bad decision. I didn't have to make that decision, and it was a bad decision. And you realize this as you're locked in jail for several years with nothing but time to consider your actions. And yeah, at the time I was totally justified. You'll later come to the conclusion that was not the case. Also, how's that working out for you? So yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking about this. It'd be nice to have just a thought idea. This won't ever actually happen, but if I had some different people from the objective personality system who were activated differently in thinking and feeling, and have like one of those group calls where you got like 4 people on the screen and could discuss this more in depth, that would be very interesting. Yeah. So, let me give you some experiences I've had with my FI. This is a FI and NI experience because the NI, I have masculine FI, introverted feeling, and I have masculine NI, introverted intuition, right? The introverted intuition is sort of the source of my imagination. It's like creativity. Intuition often comes, your creativity comes from your intuition. Also, I mean, intuition, it has various, it does a few different things. But anyway, sometimes I will find myself where it feels like I'm sort of drifting out of my body in a way. Like it feels like I'm attached to my body almost by a string. But otherwise, I'm just sort of in my head, leaving my body, right? And then sometimes with intuition, I would get sort of these different points of view, where like, and I'm pretty sure it's the NI thing. I've heard NI talk about it, but I've never heard any extroverted intuition speak about it, just because there are 2 different kinds of intuition. There are times where like, all right, when you're in your body, you're looking out your eyes, it's a first person perspective, right? There have been times where I'm talking to somebody and I'm interacting with them, and then there's like, I am 2 different consciousness at the same time. So I'm the person interacting, talking to, like say I'm talking to you, this first person point of view, and there's another me on the side, which is sort of analyzing the me talking to you in the you. Alright? So there are 2 me's. There's my consciousness speaking to you as a person, and then there's the second me analyzing me and you in the conversation. And then there have been other times where there's a third point of view. Third point of view is very interesting. It's the first 2, me talking to you, me analyzing me, and the third me gives you like almost like an overhead shot, that feels like it's me analyzing me, you, and the other me, and there are like 3 consciousness running simultaneously. I have to talk to another masculine NI to get to the bottom of that. That's not something, we don't really have a lot of masculine NIs in the community. Or, I mean, there are some, but it looks like it's mostly feminine NI. I would love to get other people's thoughts on that. But anyway, so I say that to say that I remember one time I was speaking with my wife, and we were in the living room, and she was on the couch, and I was in the chair. And we were speaking about my daughter, right? And she was asking me like, when could my daughter date? And she was telling me about her friend who has a young daughter. I think her daughter is like 11 or 12, something like that, right? And she was letting the girl go out on a date with a guy. And no judgment. That's her child or whatever. I don't, it's not, doesn't really concern me. Um, but my wife asked me, well, when could our daughter go on a date? And you know, I'm like, well, when she turns 16, we'll revisit the conversation, right? That's a fine answer as far as I'm concerned. Like, my daughter's 3. Like, I don't even understand why we're having this conversation at this point. So my wife goes on to say, hey, well, kids are dating now, younger, this, that, whatever, and I feel the second me come into consciousness, right? So the second me is on the side of me, analyzing me, and regular me is talking to my wife. And it's very interesting because I'm watching the second me sit there, and I'm looking at my chest kind of come up and down at a more rapid pace. And I notice my hands kind of grip the chair a little bit. And I'm speaking to my wife like, at 16, we will revisit the conversation. But I could feel like, almost like like as my voice comes up through my chest, and I don't even have a deep voice, but I can almost feel like a rumble. And I'm just outside of myself noticing all my body's reaction, right? And it felt like at that point, my thinking and my feeling has split, right? My feeling was in the body, and my thinking was the one outside the body, analyzing. And my thinking is like, hey, you should probably calm down. Like, he's trying to rationalize, like, look, you should probably calm down. Your daughter's right there. She's 3. Obviously, she's not dating anybody soon, anytime soon. But my feeling is like, stop asking me these fucking questions. Stop asking me these fucking questions, because it's not going to go well. Like, and I just feel my body tense up, like getting more and more, almost like this energy. And I just feel it building. And my wife, because she's my wife, continues to ask this. And I know she's got to notice like some kind of reaction. Yeah, I'm sitting there partially like trying to talk myself down, but partially like fascinated that this is happening at the same time, like that I'm splitting between the thinking and the feeling, and again, now that I'm thinking about this, this is probably due to being a double decider. This is probably due to being a double decider and having that masculine intuition. Because it makes sense now why I find people frustrating and fascinating. The frustrating part is from the feeling. Like, people frustrate me, like, with things that they do. That sometimes they're just in the way, or sometimes they're irrational. But they're fascinating, and I think that's on the thinker's side. And they're fascinating because they're irrational, and what they're doing makes no sense. And it's the same. It's the same thing that's triggering both reactions. And that's why I'm getting both reactions. I didn't, I didn't really quite work that out until now. Man, so to be double decided, I am really, really jumping back and forth between that thinking and feeling. I mean, I knew that being a double decider, that's partly that because those middle two functions balance each other. Of course, that's what I'm doing, but I didn't realize I was doing it to that extent. That's why I was getting that unusual response. Frustrated and fascinating. It's I'm gonna have to ponder that a little later. Ponder that more. Yeah. I did not realize I really like being a double decider. I'm wondering what the double observers are doing then. Because I'm a double decider because I have a observer function on the first function, and I have the thinking and feeling function in the middle. So whatever you have in the middle, you're sort of balancing between the two, right? So me being a double decider, I'm balancing between the thinking and feeling. That's why I don't really have issues for the most part with people. Like minor, like I said, they're frustrating, but they're fascinating. Like it's minor. Most of the time, they're entertainment, which I know it sounds horrible, but what do you want me to do? It is what it is. If you're a decider, which means you have either a thinking or a feeling function first, in the middle, you're balancing your sensing and your intuition, right? They call this double observing. So it means you're looking at the sensory to make an observation for your decision, and then you're looking at your intuition to make an observation for the decision. I don't have that, and I'm kind of curious as to what's going on there. I'm kind of curious about that. There's a guy that made a video. He got a show on YouTube called Dave of All People. He's part of the community. I think he did a video on double observing. I'll have to check that out and see what his thoughts are on that. If it's interesting, maybe it'll spark another video or something. Maybe I'll do a come back and do something on it. But I'm very interested because, I mean, just guessing here. If you're looking at the sensory, that means you're looking at what's going on in the real world, right? And you're looking at that. It's sort of like you're trying to figure out a problem, right? Oh, yeah, that's got to be what that guy at work is doing. It's actually that might be a good example because he's got the feeling in the first slide, and he, like I said, he's seeing stuff. Like he has that thinking. His thinking is figuring out things, but he's trying to assign a reason as to why I'm doing the things I am. And it, to me, feels like he's guessing. I think that's what he's doing. He's double observing. He's like, all right, I got this answer. I'm clearly saying these things. And he looking to double observe to figure out why I'm doing these things. And it's very interesting because he's always like accusing me of being some kind of person. Like, oh, you're a misogynist. You live in La La Land. You hate black people. I don't know, all different kinds of stuff. And to me, it it just seems like he's guessing, and I think that's what he's doing. I think that's double observing. Like he's looking to the sensory, looking at things I've said, and then he's using his intuition to guess why I've said it, and trying to put the two together. I think that's what he's doing. I don't know. I don't have enough information to make that solid. Again, something else I'm gonna have to ponder. But yes, yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's related to that. Yeah, which is interesting because just like double deciding has advantages, double observing has advantages as well. So I'm be curious to think more on that and see how that plays out. Very interesting. Shoot, I've gotten off topic. But anyway, feelers very impulsive, and once something triggers their emotion, that pulse beats more and more. It's very hard to predict how it's going to happen. Again, from a thinker's perspective, looking back, like to me, my problem always comes where with feelers are, we're just talking, having conversation, and something about that conversation pisses them off. It's not intentional. I'm not trying to do it, although a lot of them told me they think I'm doing it on purpose. And that also happens where feelers, piss thinkers off. But yeah. And to me, again, it seems illogical. Like, I want to discuss things, but I don't want to get to a point where I'm going to argue and fight over something, just because we're having a conversation. But that also, to be fair, can happen with thinkers. If you have masculine thinking, like the guy at work, he's a feeler, but he has masculine thinking, and that's where I keep triggering him. But if you're a thinker and you have masculine thinking, I don't care to have a conversation with you. I don't. And I know that probably sounds bad, but I don't. And the reason I don't is I was trying to figure this out with my father-in-law. I think he has masculine thinking. And he can be difficult. Like when I'm having a conversation, I'm just looking to exchange ideas, enjoy the conversation. And when he has the conversation, he's looking to win. Like if you bump up, that's the thing about having like masculine functions. Like if you bump up against that function, it pushes back. And what I've noticed is, I thought you had to kind of push against it to really get that reaction. No, you can unintentionally just slightly graze it and you'll get that reaction. And yeah, sometimes talking to my father-in-law, good guy, nothing against the guy, and we end up in like a debate. I don't like it. The only thing I can say, it has a feeling to it, like it's almost like a judo match. Like you're fighting for position to make your opponent submit, and that's not something I've ever been interested in. Like I've never been. I guess that's the difference between debating and discussing. I've never been much of a debater. Like, I'll discuss things. I might even present a counter argument, but I really just want to discuss the idea. Debaters are debating to win. I'm not really concerned about the winning aspect. So yeah, and I don't know. It's been that way every time I go against masculine thinking. It's been a similar feeling. Because like my wife has masculine thinking, and it doesn't come out very often. But when it comes out, it's like a flip, and she drops it on my head, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, cause I wasn't trying to fight. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't my goal. We're just talking. But the masculine function doesn't take it like that. And it's again, but it's interpreted different on their end, because when you trigger that function, like they're looking at it like, oh, we're fighting. I'm not trying to fight. Like me and my wife had kind of got into a heated conversation a couple of weeks ago, where she made the comment of, we're debating, and I'm like, we're not debating, because I wasn't trying to debate with her, and she took that as, oh, you just too smart to debate now. Like, and I'm just like, no, I'm just not trying to debate you. Like, we're not arguing, and we're just discussing things. I don't know. It's just different. I guess it's just different points of view. But yeah, and I've been looking to see where that's coming in. Like, all right, how am I doing that? And I can see that with my feeling. Like, for the most part, my masculine feeling is so solid that it's like you're throwing rocks at a stone wall. Like, you're not hurting me. Like, I see you, I recognize you doing this, but you're not hurting me. Like, that's the thing with the guy at work. When he gets upset, he's trying to attack me verbally. You're not hurting me. I recognize that that's what you're doing, but it's just, you're not hurting me. But I will say, where I've seen myself get upset, and I have another friend who I believe has a masculine FI as well, and I notice he gets upset in the same area, because FI is your identity function. The FI and TI are both the identity functions. We get upset when you try to tell us who we are, which shouldn't make me upset. Logically, I understand it shouldn't make me upset, but when you do it, you definitely got my attention. So that's why it's irritating to me when a guy at work would tell me, "You're a misogynist." Like, I'm not a misogynist. Well, you don't like these people, or you don't like that people. That's not true either. But like, when you try to tell me who I am, I know who I am. If you want to know who I am, just ask me. I will gladly explain it to you. But don't fucking start assigning me shit. Don't start saying I'm this and I'm that, because yeah, I don't like I don't like that. I don't like it. That's the part where I feel like being a feeler comes out of me. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. It might go badly. Don't push that button. And like I said, the other guy I know who has who I believe have masculine FI, I've noticed that same thing with him. I've heard him use those exact words. Don't tell me who I am. I know who I am. I know exactly who I am. Don't fucking try to tell me who I am. And I will tell you, when you have FI, it's very primal. It is a very primal function, and it gets dark. Like, it gets surprisingly dark. There is a part of me, like, the thinking part of me is calm, cool, and collective, right? And that's mostly my that's the part of me I show the world, right? Most people who know me would probably describe me as that, very calm, cool, and collective. That's not even something I realized. My best friend described me as that like 20 years ago. I didn't know what he was talking about. But yes, I'm very calm and cool, very collective. Like, I don't really shake under pressure or any of that. Emergency situations, I'm always super calm or whatever. And that's the TE in me. That's the savior thinking. But the other part of me, the FI, when that switches on, it's like that inner monster. Like FI, everybody I've seen who has FI, it's dark. I don't know why that is. I think because it's so primal, but it's very dark. And when you hit that tripwire, I can clearly hear it. It's like, I will fucking destroy you. I will fuck your shit up. It is a utmost confidence and a brutality. It's a come get destroyed. Come get destroyed. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know. It's hard to put it into words. It's hard to put it into words. But yeah. It scares me what I think I might do in that mode. Like, that's why I've always tried to keep it contained. Because when I was younger, it was not contained as well. Like, definitely in my younger years of being like, I don't know, 5 to 10, and then 10 to say like 16, 17, like when I was younger, let's say like single digits, right? I was impulsive, and when that part came out, I would do something, but it was more of just being impulsive. It wasn't malicious. But being a teenager, when your emotions are just fucking heightened, I saw myself do things that made me put it in a box. It made me put it in a box. Like, I was kind of like, I wouldn't say violent, but I fought a lot when I was younger. So it made me contain that part of myself because I was scared of what I might do and where that might take me in life. Like, I definitely didn't want to go to jail. So it's like you have to tame that, you know. But it still peeks its head out from time to time. And like I said, you feel it's a righteousness you feel. You feel invincible in a way, like unstoppable. Like, I would destroy anybody you put in front of me. Anybody. So yeah, I keep that part like locked up. You know, that's something that comes out if you need you bring that out if like you need to protect your family, something like that. But otherwise, I try to keep it locked up. I use it as my power source. Like I said, it's what provides my passion, my fuel to do things. But otherwise, I don't let it out of the cage. Yeah, and that scares me about feelers, because if you haven't learned to tame that, good luck to you. Good luck to you, because I don't know how that's gonna work out for you throughout life. I'm sure, like I said earlier, I'm sure there are a lot of people in jail who had to learn that lesson the hard way. I was fortunate to learn that lesson earlier. Was there any other things I wanted to speak about? We're now at an hour and 5 minutes. Anything else? Anything else? No. Just to sort of, just to sort of go over something. It was just, you wanted to speak on the observations of thinkers and feelers. Just because I see like thinkers are always calculating on some level, and that level varies depending on what it is you're calculating and how serious it is. It's mild, everyday calculations, to like more serious calculations, and feelers are always taking impulsive action based off the emotion, and it appears to be like a pulse running through them. Most of the time, I don't want to say most of the time, until you trigger it, it's just a mild heartbeat of a pulse. But once you trigger it, that's when it starts kicking into overdrive, and again, it can be, you don't know what the reaction, we don't know how that's going to play out. But like I said, you can see this a lot with driving, how people will make impulsive decisions while driving. You can see this in how people will react if you cut them off. Like, it's just weird. Like, the way you can see it's in everything people do. But, to me, it's very obvious when you see people driving. Like, driving, to me, really expresses a lot about your personality. The way a person drives, to me, is a lot. It shows a lot about the way they think. But if you look for it, you can see this everywhere. If you're just watching and studying people, and I'm observing people all the time. I don't know. It's somewhat of a favorite pastime of mine. Like I said, people are entertaining to me. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Those are my observations of thinkers and feelers. I hope this was somewhat interesting to you. These are the thoughts that I have on a daily basis. Alright, everyone. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Be safe.